Nunca. Mas agora acabou o medo de comprar pela internet. Com o app Itaú, você gera um cartão virtual que vale para uma única compra em até 48 horas. Ainda mais segurança para você. App Itaú. É seguindo você que a gente se atualiza.
Nascemos com a inovação em nosso DNA. Somos o presente que olha para o futuro, na missão de sermos sempre mais, de nos conectarmos mais, nos reciclarmos mais, nos energizarmos mais. Inovando, experimentando, aprendendo. Seguimos nossa jornada no rumo do amanhã, de um novo dia, em um local vivo e inspirador. Bem-vindo ao Pulse, nosso hub de inovação.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, this you crazy mother.
Bem-vindos ao segundo dia. Vou falar em português para a grande maioria. A gente está muito feliz, dá para ver pelos sorrisos aqui. A gente possibilitou uma série de encontros ontem. Muitas pessoas vieram elogiar as pessoas que elas estão ouvindo, né? Então você vê que o Brasil hoje tem essa é uma pequena amostra, né, desse potencial que esses empreendedores brasileiros têm, de estar mobilizando o Brasil para o futuro, e são fazedores. E a gente também ficou muito contente ontem que pessoas que normalmente não frequentam eventos estavam aqui passando o dia inteiro conosco, né, pessoas que costumam investir, pessoas curiosas, e essa troca com esses empreendedores, né, porque são eles que vão trazer o Brasil para frente e colocar a gente no outro patamar. Então, essas trocas, vocês entenderem com eles as dificuldades, o que eles estão precisando, o que eles estão fazendo, a cabeça deles é muito rica, tanto das corporações, quanto, né, das startups, dos empresários, investidores. Então, isso tem sido incrível e a gente está muito contente, né, que a blastU vem nesse espírito de inspirar, atualizar e conectar. Isso só foi possível também com essa generosidade das pessoas que estão aqui, que nos ajudaram, nos apresentaram, nos abriram portas, que a gente não cansa de falar isso, né, da nossa gratidão por essas pessoas que acreditaram no primeiro festival, né, no nosso sonho. O patrocínio do Itaú, né, uma baita instituição que está trazendo muita transformação digital e está aqui conosco, a Vivo, a Raizen, através da Pulse também. Então, isso para a gente é maravilhoso. Só foi possível, né? Até julho a gente não sabia se ia ser possível, né? E só foi possível por conta de toda essa composição de fatores. E a gente está muito feliz porque também estamos abrindo aqui com Strava, né? Mark, Michael, James, e que para nós é uma honra tê-los aqui. Foi um sonho, a gente gritava tanto quando a gente soube que eles vinham, né? E a Fernanda, que eu liguei no feriado, Lobão, da Go For It, que nos ajudou muito. Estava lá no feriado trabalhando, eu falei, nossa, tem uma pessoa que acredita em sonhos. E todos vocês, né, acreditaram. Então, we welcome, né?
Welcome to Strava. Thank you very much for being here for our first edition.
So adventures, entrepreneurs, such amazing people that believe in dreams like ours. Thank you so much.
Bom dia, eu sou o Gabriel Andrade, sou fundador da Turma Lei, vou bater esse papo, vai ser em inglês aqui o papo, para quem quiser tem tradução simultânea. Michael, James, Mike, thank you so much for coming. Do any of you guys know what Strava is? Okay, how many of you know what Strava is? Oh, pretty much everybody. But we have a very cool video to show the very few people that don't know what Strava is, what these guys are doing. So let's watch it.
I hate mornings.
I'm too tired. I'm not doing this. I'm going back to bed.
You've gone through all of these things in your head.
Who am I?
What am I doing?
Why the hell do I need to do this, you know?
I am not a runner.
This is not for me. That's for those guys.
You know, before you know it, you just get sucked into the whole thing.
When I first started,
it hurt so much.
Sometimes it sucks.
There's a lot of F words and a lot of complaining, but it's also exhilarating.
It's amazing.
Everyone thinks we're nuts.
You got the farmer tan.
It looked like somebody beat me with a baseball bat. There are some haggard blisters on my feet right now.
They're little trophies almost.
You lay it all out there, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything.
The thing about Strava is that
it's the most honest version of me you'll probably get.
Not a filtered version of yourself.
I got stronger, I got better, I got braver.
Then you get to the finish line and you're like, that was so awesome.
You just feel like Superwoman.
It's just therapy for me.
It's who I am, it's what I do.
I didn't find it till late in life, but it's me now.
There's no Strava versus real life. Strava is real life.
Well, guys, how would you define Strava? What is Strava nowadays? James, if you will.
So Strava is what we call it the social network for athletes. So if you're active, if you like to swim, if you like to run, if you like to cycle, if you like to kite surf, Strava is a community of people who share those passions. And so you come there for motivation, encouragement, competition, and a real, I think, drive to want to continue to be that active.
And, I mean, as we can see here, everybody knows Strava and is using Strava for different activities. What are the big numbers about Strava nowadays? I mean, I think it reached 1 billion activities shared in the middle of this year. It's amazing. So what are the big numbers of the company nowadays?
So Strava is first of all, is global. We are based in the US, but only 20% of our community members are in the US. 80% are everywhere else. And Brazil is our third largest, soon to be second largest market. And we are very, very thankful for all of the love and support we've seen from not just when we're here traveling, but we get support all the time from Brazil. I, for example, am followed. You can follow people in Strava. It's like a social network. You can follow people and be followed. I'm followed by hundreds of Brazilians, and I've never met them, but I get kudos from them every time I upload an activity, and it's wonderful, right? So 80% outside the US. We add about 1 million new members every 40 days. And so think about that growth, and that's getting faster and faster all the time. So it's growing very fast. What we focus on really is we want people to come build their active life digitally on Strava. So once they come, we want them to stay. So we have a high level of engagement, very high level of engagement. We don't lose people. Once they're there, they say, we want to be here. So those are some quick stats.
Cool. And how about the activities? How about which kinds of sports are people sharing more? Which are the activities? Are you seeing a growth? Because you've been associated with cycling for a long time, but I mean, I use Strava for running and for swimming as well, not only cycling, but I mean, I think there are two questions here. First is, why did you start focus on cycling? And the second, maybe where it's going right now and which kind of activities, Mark?
Yeah, we did. We started in cycling back in 2009. In fact, there's a misconception. Many think that Michael and I were avid cyclists or professional cyclists. It's far from the truth. He's a better cyclist than I am, but neither of us are that good. It was just a market that really wasn't being served properly. And it's such a great adoption of technology and data and so forth. So we saw it as an opportunity to enter a market. It was a go-to-market strategy. But we've always had a vision of a world of inspired athletes where every activity can have an impact. And so our idea was if we could get cycling right, how could we then serve a broader athletic community across running and swimming? And if you look today, I think there's 32, 33 different sports that you can upload to Strava. It's everything from the kite surfing to skiing. I just talked to a woman today, she just did a walk 31 days in a row, walking through Spain. And every single segment, every day has been uploaded to Strava. She sort of journaled her adventure. So today it really is this notion of a broad spectrum of sports. And
Mark, again, I mean, I'm really curious about the origin of Strava and where did the idea come from? And I mean, I heard and read some things here and there, but why don't you tell us a little bit about the process of creating Strava and where I heard that you guys were very competitive, as I may imagine. So how did the idea come from? And
So Strava's origins go way back. I'm going to age myself very quickly. Michael and I met in 1987 in college. We were at Harvard on the crew team. We were rowers. And that experience was life-changing. It really was. To be on a competitive team like that with the coaches and the camaraderie and the esprit de corps, just the training and the competition, it was a beautiful thing. The only problem was we graduated and poof, it disappeared. We went on to our professional lives and raising families, but we missed that motivation. We missed that, again, that esprit de corps that came from being on a team. And so as early as 1995, we were now in California, in Silicon Valley, with dreams of being entrepreneurs, and we began thinking, how could we bring that motivation back? How could we recreate that? And so we have a business plan that goes all the way back to 1995 that was a virtual locker room. It was, how could we use the internet to bring our friends back together and share their athletic endeavors? Now, unfortunately, in 1995, the technology wasn't quite there, and so we pivoted, like any entrepreneur does, and we launched a different company. But we kept the dream alive. And so in 2009, we were able to bring a team together and create the Strava that everybody knows today.
But let me explore a little bit because, I mean, it's very rare to see an entrepreneur or two entrepreneurs that have successfully launched two businesses together in a very broad time frame. Michael, how was the process of launching? I mean, the first business. What is the business that you ultimately launched, and how did that go? And I mean, how was the reconnection years and years later? And can you tell a bit about that?
Yeah, so the first company we started was called Kana Software, and it was enterprise software. Think about, you have to go back into the beginning of the internet. What were people trying to do? Companies were trying to reach their customers via the internet. And we thought they're going to have a problem pretty soon in communicating with those customers. There's going to be a desire that communication should be on the internet as well, and via email instead of by telephone. So we built one of the first enterprise software companies that focused on customer relationship management. And the company started in 1996. We raised several rounds of venture capital. We took the company public in 1999. And we both found ourselves out of the company by 2000. I went back to my former life as a professor of economics, and Mark started a family. And so where do we fast forward now to 2007? I'd been part of another startup, a biotech firm. Mark had been part of several boards helping companies at an advisory level, but we missed that feeling of being in the game, of being starting from nothing with just an idea, just a passion for something we were going to create, and we wanted to start a company together again. Now, the friendship part is a good basis, but it can also be something that is dangerous for a business relationship. Likewise, going into business with somebody who you don't know very well is not a good idea either. So what's the secret, or what's the, I feel that the important thing is to know what is the most important thing right now in this moment? Is it the friendship or is it the business partnership? It's not always the same thing. Sometimes it's the friendship and sometimes it's the business partnership, and you have to be understanding that it switches from one to the other in different times. And so there have been moments where it's been very challenging as friends, but we have the commitment to the business. And likewise, there have been many times it's been challenging on the business side, but we have the commitment to the friendship. So that's how I think we've been able to stay together as partners for over 20 years now, and have seen the ability to help grow ideas into companies that can do great things.
No, great. And I mean, about the reconnection, let's take one step back here, because I mean, there's one very peculiar moment where you probably have sat down and say, hey, are we starting this all over again? Because it's never easy. You only go faster, as Greg LeMond would say. It never gets easy. I mean, how was this very moment where you sit down and say, hey, are we going all in again? And tell us a little bit about it. I think you both could. I would like to see some arguing here, because I think you're agreeing on everything so far. So,
okay, this is the way I would put it, which is we both learned early on that you don't really get anywhere until you say, I'm all in. But there is a part of building a company that there's a development process. You don't just say, I'm all in on this one idea and it's never going to change. You focus on some aspect, something in the future, some vision, and you don't exactly know how you're going to get there, but you find that way in the beginning. So it takes a few months. It can even take, in our case, for Strava, it actually took us about 2 years to get to what we created. And in that process, we had the vision in mind. We were going to create a trusted brand for the person who is living an active lifestyle. Those were the key components. And we can go back to those original notes that we developed, and that was the vision. But so the process itself, we were all in doing that, building that. We were committed to it, and that's something we learned from the Kana days, which is it doesn't get anywhere unless you decide to go all in. Are you going to argue with me?
You made it sound awfully easy. No, I think he was on. My recollection is the following: one, short-term memory loss. I think that there is a romanticism about startups that we had forgotten how hard it was the first time, and wow, I felt like I got hit by a ton of bricks once again when Strava really started to go. So just naive at, as you said, you really are all in at different phases. The other thing, though, that has kept me going, Michael knows this goes all the way back to our Kana days. I used to have something called the 3 Ps, and I think they apply to every entrepreneur who's out there. 3 Ps: patience, persistence, and perspective. Keep things in perspective, and that has kept us going through ups and downs and various versions of Strava throughout the years. But that, to me, and in fact, we changed one of those Ps. It used to be perfection was the third instead of perspective. No. We need to keep things in perspective. At the end of the day, we're trying to build a company for athletes. We're trying to keep people active. It's a good thing. We're convinced that the more that someone is active, the better they are as a human being. But let's keep it in perspective. And I think that's kept us going.
Yeah, and I think there's another thing is the original idea for Strava traces back to the 90s, where technology was not there. And I think patience is one very important P to have, which is, key for everybody that is starting a business or, thinking of starting a business. Things will go sour from time to time. There'll be days that, you arrive home and say, what the hell am I doing with my life? But you have to keep going. It's not started until it's really, really hard. And when you started Strava, it was launched in 2009, right? What were the things that you learned at Kana and that you didn't want to repeat at Strava? I would say 2 or 3 things that were I wouldn't say mistakes, but choices that you have made there and you don't want to make again.
Well, a few things come right to mind. First was that we were not out to win the Silicon Valley Olympics. The Silicon Valley Olympics is you start a company and within 4 years you either have a gold medal, you made all the money, or you're out, you're gone. We believed that Strava, we were building something for the next 20, 30 years, and we were committed to it for that long time. We wanted to build something that we not only would withstand the test of time in terms of company longevity, but that we would be as passionate about it in 20 years as we were when we were founding it. So that was a difference. We learned from Kana, which was started and done in 4 years, and we kind of we're gone. And I think that's probably something I think I'd recommend any entrepreneur think about. It's like, is this an idea that I want to run for the long time? You can also think about the Olympics model, that works too, but for us, where we were in our career, I didn't know how many other ideas I were going to have that were going to be that good anyway. So it was important to at least think about the long run. What do you think, Mark?
I think the other thing that I would bring up, again, it goes back to just the approach mentally. I remember conversations with Michael the first time we did a business where we would joke, our emotions they'd ride this sine wave, and it was hour by hour as an entrepreneur. We'd get a good call from a potential investor, we'd be on cloud 9. And then 20 minutes later, that investor would cancel the meeting, and we'd think that the world had fallen apart. I think when we came to do Strava, we realized that we were creating our own sine wave. We were creating our own emotion. And just taking that sine wave and flattening out, and I think part of it was realizing, look, we've got to be in this for the long haul. Let's think about Strava. We got very excited about this idea of a consumer brand, a trusted brand. We sat down and as Michael alluded to, in 2006, we looked at all the companies that we admired out there, and these are some amazing consumer brands, but it had taken them decades to get to where they were. And so that perspective, I think, was really fundamentally different from our first go around, where we went from 2 guys and a dog to 1,200 people in 4 years, and from 0 revenue to hundreds of millions of revenue. Everything was just on a rocket ship, but that created a whole set of problems that, frankly, weren't very fun.
Yeah, and I imagine that one of those problems is how to build the team and incentivize this team. And it's a huge problem for pretty much every entrepreneur. And here, I think we have mostly entrepreneurs and innovators, people that are thinking on launching a business or already have a business, maturing. And James, from your perspective, what is key? And you're growing exponentially. You're bringing new technologies on board. You're thinking of new features on the social network. So, how do you build a top-notch team and maintain these people incentivized and thrilled to be there and bought in the project?
Yeah. So my story, if you don't know it, I joined Strava about 5 months ago. I had previously worked at Facebook and Instagram for 6 years, and it's incredible to meet these two and hear how big a vision that they have. The scale of the ambitions of the company are very long term, and it's to build the next great sports brand, this trusted sports brand for the 21st century. And I think companies, as you know, as entrepreneurs, companies go through stages. And the group that gets you, off the launch pad might be different from the group that gets you into orbit, might be different from the group that takes you to the moon. And I think a lot of what we're trying to do, and I know both Mark and Michael have been CEOs through Strava's history, I think at every stage trying to find the skill set and then the commitment. We have a discussion right now within our company as I look at the employee base and the leadership to say, can we plot people on two axes? Can we find people who are incredibly independent, meaning they're self-starters? They take the vision that Mark and Michael set out, the mission and vision to build this engaged community of athletes, and can they run almost autonomously, independently, apply it to marketing, apply it to finance, apply it to product development. And then on the other scale is how much impact do they have? And so if you find people who are self-starters and they know out of all the things that they could do, we're spoiled with all the opportunities of product we could build, of partnerships we could have, but you have to really choose. And so at this stage, finding people who are in that quadrant and who are trying to align with the 5 and 10 year vision is incredibly important. And so it's less about some of the short-term things that were probably necessary earlier in the company's history. And I think what I have such an incredible privilege of being in my role is to have the historical context of being able to still work so closely with these two, but also as we go forward, make assessments where there are people who served us well to get to this state of the atmosphere, but probably aren't going to scale beyond.
No, sure. And I mean, tell me a little bit about also which kind of technologies are you exploring? Because, I mean, Strava has such a wonderful user experience, and it has been evolving, I mean, since day one. When you launched the mobile, I remember, I don't have to carry my Garmin for whatever I'm doing. So it was really a nice feature. There have been so many new features coming in. What are you planning for the next few months and years? And I mean, what are you up to?
So we should all chime in on this one. Technology has and will continue to, I think, enhance. I don't like to say disrupt fitness. I think it's enhancing fitness. And I think the best technologies actually make your experience that is not digital better, right? We don't love the idea of people staring at their phones while they're active. We want them to enjoy their activity and then have this companion community, this companion app that makes it more enjoyable before, during, and after. And so when we look trend-wise, technology is coming into gyms, right? There's lots of integration of technology into gym equipment. There's lots of those gym and studio sessions that are being internet broadcast into people's homes. And there are more apps than ever available on your phone to do a 7-minute workout, when you're on the go. And then lots of people are wearing these devices, Apple Watch, Fitbit, Garmin, Suunto Polar. What these two identified very early on is, can we be a partner with those technologies and really focus on the community aspect about how if you have an Apple Watch and if I have a Garmin, we still should be able to encourage each other, because the best part of technology and fitness, I think, is the digitization of motivation. So in the real world, if we were out running, we would push each other a little bit. We'd get each other out of bed when it's cold and dark and the time zone has changed, right? That's what people do to each other. Can we bring that into our product so that you feel a little more accountable, a little more energized, a little more encouraged, maybe a little more competitive with other people? I think that's where this goes, and that's what we certainly prioritize over. I don't think AR and VR is a priority for us today. It might be in the future if it can be integrated, because it just shouldn't be disrupting people's experience.
Yeah, you don't wanna get uncomfortable and I mean, have a worse experience riding or kite surfing or whatever you're doing, just in order to be, connected. It doesn't make sense. I mean, you're out there to practice sports, not to be texting or whatever. So, but I mean, I totally get the point of being more competitive, and I mean, it helps you drive a little bit further and try to make your effort a little bit more seriously, which is good. And it also helps you build relationships with other athletes and enthusiasts that, I mean, at some point in time, you're going to go for a trip and want some companion to ride or to surf or whatever. But I was thinking more of with your background at Instagram and Facebook, what kind of vision do you bring to the company in terms of how to connect people and how to make this experience even greater, not only in terms of activities and so on? So what are you guys thinking about this?
Yeah, well, let me share probably 2 or 3 lessons from other networks that I've worked at, and then how do we apply them into our space. The first thing is it's amazing to have a single product that is as globally relevant and addictive, and to see such fanaticism around the world. So to come here, I mean, we would all say, I think prior to our visit, the team of Strava have done very little to try and grow our community in Brazil, yet it's our number 3 market globally, right? So to be able to have one product that can have a universal appeal, but the thing I learned in previous networks is it has to be a domestic network. You know, we had some community members join us yesterday and then the day before in Rio, one of whom I think cycled 60 kilometers to come meet these two, frankly, and take pictures with them. That fanaticism is incredible, but it's important that we create a domestic phenomenon and network. I think the two more learnings of the other direction for me, you know, people don't like surprises, particularly in networks. They don't want to be surprised where something about the privacy settings or about how a product performs is different from their expectations. And I think some other networks have had some challenges with that, and we're very, very conscious and concerned, but always putting the athlete first and making sure that he or she is never surprised by how the product performs.
You don't even have ads in Strava, right?
Yeah, we don't have ads. I think ads can be additive. Ads can enhance an experience. But what I mean is, I'll give this example. On Facebook, there was one time where it's called Social Reader, where my wife read an article on Cosmopolitan magazine, and it was a very embarrassing headline, and it posted it to all her friends, and it was embarrassing to me as well. We don't want to do that. That's unexpected. So I think avoiding the unexpected. And then the second thing that I've learned, and these two have prioritized from the beginning, is for as much as we like the big numbers, the quantity of connections, it's the quality. It's the quality of those connections that matter. And I think in fitness, there's this intersection of people you're friendly with, people who do your same types of activities, and people who are at about your ability level that probably source the most motivation. And so for many people, you know, Michael's a Brazilian superstar on Strava, but it might be more important that you only have 6 friends and followers, because those are the 6 people who get you out of bed in the morning, who meet you on your ride or meet you at the pool and provide that inspiration. And I think other networks have chased big numbers sometimes to the detriment actually of the day-to-day experience.
Yeah. And I mean, let me make a U-turn here because there's one discussion that has been around here in Brazil, specifically in São Paulo. It has been a very heated discussion, not necessarily very rational all the time. And I think, I mean, it's as a cyclist myself, I consider a very important decision for the city, which is cycling paths. You've done some wonderful job in Australia, and I mean, Michael, how can Strava cooperate with local authorities and governments to try to enhance the experience of riding a bike in a city and enhance the mobility of a city? São Paulo has a huge problem with mobility. People take 3 hours sometimes to get to work. So how can you guys help cities like São Paulo?
So let me tell you the story of Strava Metro, which is a group inside Strava that's working on exactly this problem. And it speaks to why does the world need a social network for athletes? Well, it's because when you have all this information about how people exercise, how they get through a city like Sao Paulo by bike, by foot, you can learn from that. And Strava Metro is one example of how the data has incredible value. What we figured out 4 years ago was that all this information that people are uploading on where they ride, run, walk, and there are lots of walkers in Strava too. Walking is a very, very popular activity in Strava. People track walks. All this information on where people are active can be used to help city planners understand how to design better infrastructure. Where should the bike path be? Which intersections are the most dangerous and need more lights, better paths? And so we created Strava Metro to be able to help with this problem. And now Strava Metro is used by 150 different communities around the world. And you mentioned a few of them, many big regions in Australia, many places in the United States, Europe. And we are speaking with Sao Paulo. We hope that we can very soon be able to announce that Sao Paulo will be starting to use Strava Metro. I'm going to have some meetings when I'm here, which will bring this to closure. And what does Strava Metro do? It gives the people who are trying to think about these big projects to invest in making bike paths, making intersections safer. It gives them visibility into how actively are these areas used today? Where should we be directing traffic? It's another mode of transportation that frankly has been ignored for so long, and that's why you have so many cars. If you made biking and walking and running safer, better, people would do it more. And that's what we see happening all over the places that are using Strava Metro. So it's a good example of what I think what we can help unlock with Strava data.
Fantastic. I hope conversation goes well with the authorities here in São Paulo. Last one before we open for some questions from the audience. I mean, you recently received an investment from a Brazilian firm. Go for it. I mean, they are here today. We're very glad they came to blastU. I mean, how that can influence and bring Brazil more to the core of Strava. I mean, we have so many fanatic users of Strava here, and we'd like to hear a few words about their investment and what that brings to you guys.
Yeah, I'm very glad you brought it up. So Go For It did lead our last round of investment. Strava's been very privileged to have some amazing investors in the firm, and I can tell you, after this visit here, this investor group has moved to the top of the list. It's been a fabulous experience to come in and understand, as James described, sort of the importance of being local, how we create Strava that way. And so we've seen from our investors, just the way in which we can begin to be much more relevant and authentic here in Brazil, which is so important for us to be successful. But then on top of that, these are not just local investors. These are folks who understand the international landscape and really are helpful in helping us understand growth. We're having a great meeting with another of their partners that's helping us understand expansion throughout Asia and other parts. So it's been a wonderful partnership, and unfortunately they've set a very high bar for the other investors that we have.
Great to hear that. Well, thank you guys. Let's open for the Q&A. There.
Olá, eu vou falar em português, tá? Eu sou Edu Gasperini e sou usuário do Strava, sou fã, parabéns pelo projeto. Uma dúvida que eu tenho em relação ao excesso de competitividade que o Strava está causando, porque eu vejo várias pessoas que nunca pedalaram, começaram a pedalar em pouco tempo e agora estão fazendo tempos fantásticos. Eu não sei se eles fazem isso dentro de um carro, dentro de uma moto, ou com a bicicleta motorizada, ou se estão tomando alguma coisinha que está fortalecendo isso. Então, como é que o Strava vê isso, primeiro? E segundo, o que vocês vão fazer, ou o que já estão fazendo para coibir isso? Porque realmente, acho que vocês dependem muito de um sistema que funcione baseado em credibilidade, e se isso acontecer muito, e eu já vi acontecer, eu já vi sendo perdido por uma diferença absurda, se perder essa credibilidade, acho que não é muito legal para vocês.
Just a second. For the not initiated means king of mountain, and it's like the top prize of your life if you're on Strava.
I'll go first, and you guys add on to this. So if you haven't used Strava, there's a thing in Strava that they built very early that I think is key to the competition. There's many competitions all over the world where you get a segment, and for that segment, everybody who rides on it or runs on it can compete against other people for their gender, in their age group, or in their weight. And if you're the most successful, you become king or queen of that mountain or set the course record. The single most popular segment in the world is in São Paulo, at USP. USP is the single most attempted segment in the world.
More specifically, the Bolinha at USP, which is a Praça da Reitoria, which is a circle.
So Brazilians are competitive, if you haven't learned that, which is good. But to the question about sometimes people forget to turn on or turn off their device. So, and then they get in a car, and they drive in that car on the segment, and they're going a little faster than if they weren't in a car. Electric bikes have been introduced. People have, some other assistance. So we have a community management team that are incredibly active in supporting members where they find. And so people will flag. If you see a score where you go, you know what, I don't believe that that's valid, you flag it. Our community management team will come up and try and, between the people, look at the data set and say, this looks like it was probably in a car or using a device. So we do take the integrity of those leaderboards, the integrity of our data very seriously. What's exciting to me, to the second half of your question, is how do we do this going forward, is we have found technology partners, particularly machine learning technology, where we can share some of our anonymized data with them, and they're actively able to identify that, hey, I think this one should be flagged. Before the community flag it to us, they can proactively identify it. So I think there are very real ways going forward for us to try and reduce the number of these occurrences. Ultimately, though, it's not something we can police at this level of scale, so hopefully we can find some technology to support us going forward. I don't know what you'd add to that.
I think the only thing I would add is it's a partnership between the technology that we have and the local community. And the greater that we get at providing the tools to the members who are in those existing communities, I think the better the experience will be.
Yeah, I would add another point which is often raised about the safety of using Strava. And I think, there are ways and ways to ride, and I think riding is especially dangerous, as we all know. So, it's kind of everybody has to take care of themselves, and we have to know that riding is not always safe, and we have to pay attention and be responsible and ride responsibly, as we do in a car, as we should do as well when riding a motorcycle. So that's I think another part of the question. People shouldn't do stupid things to get a king of mountain. It's only for fun, guys.
Well, my name is Guilherme. Well, congratulations, you've done fantastic things. My question is related to the future of social media network, and what's your vision about that, and how can niche players will survive in the future?
You want to take?
I'll start this one. I think this goes back to what why we started Strava, focused on the athlete, as we believe that there's a difference in how you use Strava from how you use Facebook. And Strava is deep. It's not broad, it's deep. And Facebook is broad, but it's not deep. And so over time, I think you can see incredible value created from the broad networks with everybody is connected. The whole world is going to be connected on Facebook, but it's not going to mean a lot. Every individual connection is not very important. But you can also create a tremendous value from the deep social network, and we're focused there. So it's not, as James pointed out, the quantity, it's the quality of those connections. It's the quality, the depth of those connections.
Yeah, and I would add, I think the world is moving towards more narrow networks of interest. You see it in groups, right? The power of groups, WhatsApp groups, and more activity or vertical specific networks. You know, in my own personal world, I have great connections of people I've gone to school with or family members around the world. I use Facebook to show them cute pictures of my children, right? I use Instagram to document my travels. I saw some foot volley on Copacabana Beach. I posted it to Instagram. But there is no other community that I want to share my runs, teaching myself to swim, learning how to cycle commute than the Strava community. It's people who have self-selected, have raised their hand and said, I'm also active. I want to have an active lifestyle. And so there's content today that lives in Instagram that really should be on Strava. And if you read today, we launched, hopefully all of you have updated your app. We launched the ability in Strava today to have these posts outside of your activity. So you can share a link, you can ask a question, and really take the expertise in our community and make it work for you better. And so we're taking some of these products that we see in other networks, but trying to say, to Michael's point, how do these really fit what our athletes are trying to do day to day?
Just a question for me. Can you share, for instance, a diet or an exercise routine, or I mean, talk to your coach, or I mean, is this kind of capability? You have enabled this open dialogue for pretty much everybody who's a user of Strava.
Yeah, so today, yesterday, what you used to do is Michael would be active, he'd have his activity, he'd been running, and then I'd ask him a series of questions in the comments. It wasn't the right way to have the engagement. So now what you can do is, I think the first use case is clearly ask questions. Hey Mark, you know, I'm in the market for a new bike. What would you think? Or, hey, what are those shoes that you're wearing? I've just landed in Sao Paulo. Where's the best place to go for a coffee after I cycle, right? Questions are a great use case. The second is the background story. So the activity of Michael and I on Ipanema Beach might not tell you the entirety of Gustavo, who is our trainer who led us and his business, right? That's more background that you can share. And then on the links, we have the ability to render embedly links of a video that you saw, or our head of design yesterday made a post about the 10 must-have items he takes hiking with him. That doesn't belong on Instagram. That doesn't belong on Facebook. It belongs on Strava.
Cool. We have one last question, please.
Meu nome é Pedro, bom dia. Parabéns pelo aplicativo, eu sou usuário, pratico ciclismo. E além de você ter essa comunidade crescente, eu acho que é muito importante para o ciclista amador a motivação de ver que você passa por aquele segmento e você está melhorando a cada dia, a cada treino. Então acho que a motivação pessoal da sua melhora é muito importante. Eu sinto falta no Strava e na comunidade, quando eu viajo, por exemplo, eu vou a Nova York, outros lugares, e eu quero pedalar. Eu entro lá no meu aplicativo, eu olho os segmentos e vou naquele segmento que existe. Agora, muitas vezes eu poderia achar um pelotão que estaria interessado em me colocar dentro do pelotão. Eu poderia participar junto de um passeio. E eu procuro, às vezes, em Nova York. A loja da Rafa, por exemplo, existe lá uma comunidade que eles te convidam para andar 90 km, 90 milhas, 100 km, ou seja, e no Strava eu acho que é talvez uma coisa simples que poderia ser feita. Eu queria saber se vocês pensam sobre isso e se está no radar de vocês.
Who wants this one? Great question, nice setup. If you see in the Strava app today, we have a very simple button, Explore. This notion of discovery, it's in its earliest infant stages, but you are spot on at what we believe is one of the most strategic things we can do over the next 12, 18, 24 months. And it's this notion of discovery. It's this notion of you've traveled somewhere. It took us this long to have the data set in the community to where we now have that knowledge embedded inside Strava, and so we're looking at better ways to expose that to you. But your use case is exactly what we're focused on internally. It's really exciting to look. It's still hard to do. I was trying to show someone this morning. It's, you know, segment Explore in the middle of Sao Paulo, and I've got a segment, and you have to go. We know how hard it is, and we are committed to this notion of discovery. It's, if you think about an athlete's life, we've been very focused on the back end, meaning after you've done an activity, how do we celebrate that in Strava? How do we compete with that? We want to focus on the other end, which is you're about to go do an activity. How can we help you in that endeavor? What can we do there? That's part of why posts are important, but it's also part of how we're going to bring discovery, give it an influence or an experience inside the app.
Oh, okay, so we have time for a very, very quick last one.
Okay, my name is John. Hello, guys. Very quick question, simple. You said Strava is global, right? Did very little to Brazil, but we are third right now, maybe going to second. So what does that tell you guys, and how you gonna do about that? What you gonna do about that?
Well, we're going to get very serious here. We're again, thanks to the Go For It team, we have a incredible opportunity to build more partnerships, to hire, to find someone to lead our presence in Brazil. That's part of what we've been doing since we've been here. We'll do more of it today. And I think with that help, to invest, to find ways to help people know more. We have to raise the awareness. We have to make sure the association's right, and we have to work with race organizers. We have to work with great endemic brands. We have to work with other partners to really make sure that, as I said earlier, Strava becomes just a Brazilian phenomenon, and it's not just about, you know, a few cities, or it's not just about a few activities, but it is really the home of your athletic life. That's what we will build. And so, yeah, we're excited by the interest, both in the products. We had a lot of product suggestions the last 3 days that we will build. So I think that, you know, that empathy and understanding of the market's important, and then to have the help of actual people, a person to be our country manager here, we will hire for in the coming months.
Well,
yeah, I mean, no. Cycling is a portion. We started with cycling, but cycling is one of many sport types. We, you know, in our most developed markets. So if you look just very quickly in the UK, we had over 75% of the people who participated in one cycle ride called Ride London. We had 75% of it. It's huge cycling business, but guess what? We're bigger in running. We have more runners in the UK than we do in cycling. I think you'll see that happen here. There are many more runners in Sao Paulo than there probably are cyclists. We want to be both. We want to be the place for both. If you're active, people who are indoor cycling, outdoor cycling, gym, studio, weight training, kite surfing, all of those activities we want to represent for Brazilians.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I think it was really, really cool. Hope to see you guys very often here in Brazil. And thank you for all the questions.
And congratulations, Kelly and the blastU team. Great conference.